Chronicles of a Female Engineer. Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Chronicles of a Female Engineer. Safety is a big part of an engineer's role, and you'll often see it included in whatever job interview or job document, job description that you come up across. Now, the reason is because there are so many elements of a job that are social. Engineering is a social job. And what that means is you get to interact with people on a regular basis. And what you'll often see in a title is that you need to have an overriding commitment to safety, health, environment, and community. There's a number of different ways you could, different companies package that: safety, health, environment, security, environment, community. So it all interchanges, but essentially it's around that people aspect. What experience have you had with positively impacting an organization's safety? Now, how do you do this? Well, I've got a separate episode on this whole notion of safety interactions. And this is really around going onto a job site, having a look and seeing if things are going to plan. You can also have a full framework. So a lot of organizations will have a safety framework. Now, this goes all the way up from the standards that organization may have and the procedures that sit below that. And in essence, all employees need to follow those procedures and standards that have been put in place to keep you safe. This is particularly important in high hazardous environments. I've worked in major hazardous facilities in a lot of my roles, and we've got heavy equipment, conveyor belts, hazardous substances, and all of these have got the potential to cause harm. So safety is an important factor. And people that are laxy-daisy about safety, which means may disregard it or prefer to take shortcuts, are often not a good fit or good match for a high risk environment, like a manufacturing site or a mining site. So these things are taken into account in the hiring process, and you'll see a lot of questions around this. The next one is around environment. Now, an environment is a big one for us. Because we operate in our communities, we need to be demonstrating that we have got a certain level of ethics whereby we won't leave the environment in a worse state than when we got there. Now, this is just good practice. Now, what this entails is that, again, you'll have an engineering environmental standard that sits at the top with the company and procedures that support it to essentially ensure that you do not inadvertently release some hazardous toxic gases into the atmosphere or deposit some contaminants into the nearby rivers or waterways and streams. This could also incorporate soil or even the environment, your hearing scenarios, the air quality. All of these things are included in the environment section. After the environment is the community. Oftentimes, sites and engineers work very closely or nearby communities, and hence you need to engage. You need to engage the community. And a lot of effort goes into the space. Newsletters are sent out well in advance. Councils, have interaction where they discuss with communities what projects are planned for that area. In this way, the community can also have a two-way conversation, put up their hands about things that they may be concerned about, and flag that so that the company that's proposing a project can take that into account. So this is some important elements of discussing this nature with your community. One of my recent roles was actually based on a site which was 800 meters from the closest neighborhood. So things like noise, they shock residents. I mean, we hear big sounds and you wonder what's going on. So we always have to keep them abreast of what's going on. Are we planning to start up or shut down the work site? Because oftentimes that can cause a lot of noise depending on turbines and other things you have running. Valves releasing, valves opening. It's very exciting. So it's important to keep keep the two lines of communication open. We've got a hotline at one of our sites to ensure that people can ring in at any point in time and say, hey, I can see a hazy cloud, what's going on over there? Or we just heard a loud noise, or something seems strange. Are you aware of it? And is it going to plan? And that allows us to keep them informed, let them know that we'll do everything we can to get things back on track, or yes, we're aware of it, it's only going to be for a shorter period of time, and we'll expect it to happen again in 12 hours when we reboot. It's just, it's common courtesy. So really that ability to interact with your community, you're able to gain their trust, gain that interaction, and they will actually vouch for you. Holding events that support their needs and their interests as well. So I've talked about safety, I've talked about environment, I've talked about community. The last one really is around health. Now this is both mental health and physical health, and these are really two important areas. Now if I start with physical health, this is really around injuries. Now you want to reduce the amount of injuries that are potential, in the environment. I always like to say this, it's so important to come to work and leave in the same way at the end of the day. It's so critical. No one wants to go to work and come out hurt or get hurt at work. So it's critical that everything we do, we're thinking about how can we keep you safe? How can we keep you from injury? What has got the potential to hurt me in this scenario? So that's a big part of the physical health side of things. And we monitor those type of incidents, crushed finger, jarred knee or ankle, all those things are tracked. There's usually a doctor on site or a doctor nearby that you can quickly ferry yourself to get assessed. And this is very important. The second aspect, which I think is actually even more important, is mental health. Now, this one is an unseen, silent one that can go unnoticed if people don't speak up, or if there's no platform or environment that encourages people to just say, hey, are you okay? How are you going? What's happening in your world? And I think in times where there's a major project going on, or people have to extend their work hours to get things done, or there's an unplanned event and they're called upon to work some extra hours, these type of scenarios, if they're continued for a long period of time, can cause fatigue. And once you couple what's going on at work with what may be going on at home, things can come, to critical points. So it's really important to understand what the mental health of your community, your working peers, your peers and your colleagues, your teams, how are they going? How are you? So I hope I've given you a good insight into why safety, health, environment and community are very important in the life of an engineer. Okay, I look forward to talking to you again soon.